In terms of the economy, look, I inherited a recession, I am ending on a recession. In the meantime, there were 52 months of uninterrupted job growth. And I defended tax cuts when I campaigned, I helped implement tax cuts when I was president. And I will defend them after my presidency as the right course of action. And there's a fundamental philosophical debate about tax cuts. Who best can spend your money, the government, or you? And I have always sided with the people on that issue. Now, obviously these are very difficult economic times. When people analyze the situation, there will be this problem started before my presidency. It obviously took place during my presidency. The question facing a president is not when the problem started. But what did you do about it when you recognized the problem? And I readily concede I chunked aside some of my free market principles when I was told by Chief. Economic advisors that the situation we were facing could be worse than the Great Depression. So I've told some of my friends who said, you know, who have taken an ideological position on this issue, why did you do what you did? I said, well, if you were sitting there and heard that the Depression could be greater than the Great Depression. I hope you would act too, which I did. And we've taken extraordinary measures to deal with the frozen credit markets, which have affected the economy. Credit spreads are beginning to shrink, lending is just beginning to pick up. The actions we have taken, I believe, have helped thaw the credit markets, which is the first step toward recovery. And so, yes, look, there's plenty of critics in this business, I understand that. And I thank you for giving me a chance to defend a record that I am going to continue to defend. Because I think it's a good, strong record. Jim. Question, thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to ask you about your critics. President Bush, sure. You know any? Question, well, a couple years ago, Charles Krothamer, columnist and Harvard-trained psychiatrist. Coined a term, Bush derangement syndrome, to talk about your critics who disagreed with. You most passionately not just your policies, but seem to take an animosity towards you. I'm just wondering, as you look back, why you think you engendered such passionate criticism, animosity. And do you have any message specifically to those to that particular part of the spectrum of your critics? President Bush, you know, most people I see, you know. When I'm moving around the country, for example, they're not angry. And they're not hostile people. And we never meet people who disagree, that's just not true. I've met a lot of people who don't agree with the decisions I make. But they have been civil in their discourse. And so, I view those who get angry and yell and say bad things and you know, all that kind of stuff, it's just a very few people in the country. I don't know why they get angry. I don't know why they get hostile. It's not the first time. However, in history that people have expressed themselves in sometimes undignified ways. I've been reading, a lot about Abraham Lincoln during my presidency. And there was some pretty harsh discord when it came to the 16th president, just like there's been harsh discord for the 43rd president. You know, presidents can try to avoid hard decisions and therefore avoid controversy. That's just not my nature. I'm the kind of person that, you know. Is willing to take on hard tasks, and in times of war people get emotional, I understand that. Never really, you know, spent that much time, frankly, worrying about the loud voices. I of course hear them, but they didn't affect my policy, nor did they affect how I made decisions. You know, the President-elect Obama will find this, too. He'll get in the Oval Office and there will be a lot of people that are real critical and harsh. And he'll be disappointed at times by the tone of the rhetoric. And he's going to have to do what he thinks is right, Jim. And if you don't, then I don't see how you can live with yourself. I don't see how I can get back home in Texas and look in the mirror and be proud of what I see if I allowed the loud voices. The loud critics, to prevent me from doing what I thought was necessary to protect this country. Mike. Question, Mr. President, thank you very much. Since your philosophy is so different from President-elect Obama's. What concerns you the most about what he may attempt to do? President Bush, you know, Michael, I'm not going to speculate about what he's going to do. It's going to be, you know, he's going to get in the Oval Office. He's going to analyze each situation, and he's going to make the decisions that he think is necessary. And the other thing is, when I get out of here, I'm getting off the stage. I believe there ought to be, you know, one person in the Klieg lights at a time. And I've had my time in the Klieg lights. You know, I'm confident, you know, you'll catch me opining on occasion, but I wish him all the best. And people say, oh, that's just a throwaway line. No, it's not a throwaway line. The stakes are high. There is an enemy that still is out there. You know, people can maybe try to write that off as, you know, he's trying to set something up. I'm telling you there's an enemy that would like to attack America, Americans, again. There just is. That's the reality of the world. And I wish him all the very best. And of course, he's going to have his hands full with the economy. I understand. It's tough for a lot of working people out there. The people are concerned about their economic future. You know, one of the very difficult parts of the decision I made on the financial crisis was to use hard-working people's money to help prevent there to be a crisis, and in so doing, Some of that money went into Wall Street firms that caused the crisis in the first place. I wasn't kidding when I said Wall Street got drunk and we got the hangover. But nevertheless, President-elect Obama will find the problems and the situation surrounding problems. Sometimes cause people to have to make decisions that they, weren't initially comfortable with. And there was such a decision when it came to Wall Street. I mean, I had a lot of people when I went out to Midland that time say, "What the heck are you doing?" Those people up east caused the problem. I said, "I know, but if we hadn't worked to fix the problem, your situation would be worse." And anyway, I really do wish him all the best. Cheryl. Question, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, in recent days, there's been a fair amount of discussion in legal circles. About whether or not you might give preemptive pardons in advance. To officials of your administration who engaged in anything from harsh interrogation tactics to perhaps dismissing U.S. attorneys. I'd like to know. Have you given any consideration to this? And are you planning on it? President Bush, I won't be discussing pardons here at this press conference. Question, can I have a follow-up? President Bush, would you like to ask another question? Question, yes, I would, sir. Thank you. 4 years ago President Bush, that's the spirit, isn't it? Question, I appreciate that. President Bush, thank you. Question, 4 years ago, you were asked if you had made any mistakes. President Bush, yes. Question, and I'm not trying to play gotcha, but I wonder, when you look back over the long arc of your presidency. Do you think, in retrospect, that you have made any mistakes? And if so, what is the single biggest mistake that you may have made? President Bush, gotcha. I have often said that history will look back and determine that which could have been done better. Or, mistakes I made. Clearly putting a mission accomplished on an aircraft carrier was a mistake. It sent the wrong. Message. We were trying to say something differently, but nevertheless, it conveyed a different message. Obviously, some of my rhetoric has been a mistake. I've thought long and hard about Katrina, could I have done something differently? Like land Air Force One either in New Orleans or Baton Rouge. The problem with that end is that law enforcement would have been pulled away from the mission. And then your questions, I suspect, would have been. How could you possibly have flown Air Force One into Baton Rouge, and police officers that were needed to? Expedite traffic out of New Orleans were taken off the task to look after you.